Hello, my dear listeners. Today I decided to record another audio podcast. Time to time you'll hear some birds because I have birds around of all kind. Anyway, I want to highlight and remind you of this podcast and this YouTube channel was designed purely and solely for information, educational purpose, and to make sure people do understand what Tantra is, how to apply a Tantra lifestyle in your everyday life. Does everyone have to practice Tantra or not? And why is it important? Just like in my previous video, I just want to highlight and refresh your mind. The Tantric philosophy embraces the ideas that all aspects of life, including your sexuality, can be part of a spiritual practice. And I think in today's busy world full of fake stuff, fake dating apps, fake pictures people taking of themselves, and then they put bunch of all kind of layers and special effects that when you meet that person in life, you barely recognize or don't recognize that person at all. Why do we do that? Why do we need that? I think the reason number one is self-awareness, that we don't have that proper self-awareness, and let's face it, a lot of us, we don't have a good self-esteem. And sometimes I find even a very good-looking people lacking a good, healthy self-esteem, self-appreciation, self-love, self-respect. And it's important to have that, to create it if you don't have that, to grow that inside yourself. Now, with all this in mind, I just mentioned, tantric approach into your life, in everyday life, I find is important, especially in the busy, hectic life of most of the people driving to work or taking TTC to work or taking transportation, sitting in the traffic, running into the grocery, everything we do on the run. We chasing our tails. We never have enough time. And when I talk to people sometimes, they're like, well, when do I have time to practice meditation? When do I have time to practice mindfulness? So although we do have time for gossips, for talking about our friends behind their backs, for talking about neighbors, for talking about politics, we have sometimes hours and hours and hours on. We have time for Netflix. We have time for Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. We have time for all that. But yet we don't have time for our own spiritual growth. And in today's podcast, I wanna highlight the importance of spiritual growth, self-development, and Tantra is a part of spiritual growth. A lot of people, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly in North America, in Europe as well, they find Tantra as another way of searching sexual positions, or they think it describes how to have sex with your partner, or how to attract a partner, or some people, some men call how to attract a chick, which is I cannot stand less this type of saying when man talks about women in the word of chick, right? I find it's very disrespectful. However, once you lay your foot on the spiritual path, you'll start to shape and develop yourself in a very different, unique way. From the way you look to the way you speak to people, to the way you take in actions, to the way you think, to the way you even drive in the traffic, right? How many of us guilty of cursing people around us when we're stuck in traffic? How many of us guilty of cursing somebody in line when we're waiting in a hurry to buy some groceries, run home, quickly cook, quickly this, quickly that? We're cursing people constantly. We're getting angry for nonsense. Now, why I'm mentioning all that? Because all of these are part of our life, and all of the small, teeny, tiny little pieces of our life create our life, everyday experience. We're also forgetting to live in a now moment. And it's an art of living in now moment. And now moment, that's where the Tantra begins. Imagine wake up in the morning, even though you have to go to work, maybe you work from home, maybe you have to drive, maybe you have to drive your kids first to school and then drive to work, or maybe you have to take your kids and walk them to the school bus, and then maybe you have to take transportation, public transit. Whichever your way is, whichever your lifestyle is, imagine you wake up in the morning and you have that sweet 20 minutes, maybe half an hour just for yourself. Imagine you drinking that warm water with a lemon, or maybe it's a cup of tea. It doesn't have to be lemon water. Or maybe it's a cup of coffee, fresh brewed coffee, that with that fresh brewed coffee that smells enters your room, enters every corner of your apartment, of your house, and it smells delicious. It smells like a proper morning. And imagine in then time and space, you actually sitting with your cup of coffee, lemon water, tea, and you actually enjoying it. And you actually taking your time, sipping it slowly, feeling it, how it goes down your throat, down to your stomach, warms up your body, warms up your soul, warms up your heart. And your mind doesn't need to chase whatever is going to happen in the next couple of hours or in the afternoon, or what you have to do at work, or what you have to say to your boss, or maybe to your colleagues, or maybe what you have to say to whatever the people you meet for today. And you're just enjoying that 5 to 10 minutes of drinking that warm liquid. You're enjoying it, you're taking your time. Maybe you're closing your eyes, you breathe deeply, you're introducing fresh air, maybe your window, it's half open, maybe it's a spring outside, maybe it's a fall, winter, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's a sunny morning, or maybe you wake up and it's a gloomy, but that fresh cup of coffee or tea will ignite your day, will give you that fresh start of the day, and then you're thinking about how good it's going to be to go to work today, or to talk to your friends at work or your colleagues, or how it's going to be good when you turn on your favorite radio station when you're going to be driving. Or maybe instead of drinking all those beverages, maybe you start your morning fresh and you put some mindfulness, mindful music that maybe reminds you of nature, with some birds that singing at my back right now. And you will sit for 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes in a mindful meditation. And you don't have to sit with your mind completely empty, which is humanly really impossible. Maybe you'll be sitting and thinking about the task you have to do, concentrating on something, and see yourself as you're doing it in a perfectly well situation. Maybe there is something else, maybe it doesn't relate to work. Maybe you have a date tonight and you will visualize your perfect date with the person you like, you want to meet. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe you picture yourself how you coming back from work and you're gonna write your blog. Or maybe something else. There is a million things you could be doing after, during, before. But you're taking your sweet time and you're thinking and you're enjoying those thoughts. So this is Tantra, right? So when people think Tantra is you sit in front of another nude or naked person and grabbing their genitals or doing some stuff that's you didn't even ask permission, right? As a tantric practitioner, sometimes I face a situation where people are completely inappropriate and the way they behave without passing a judgment, I would say I don't think they had a good upbringing. I'm just sharing my experience here because this is Tantric. Tantra is about, the word Tantra obviously coming from Sanskrit, one of the very ancient languages. And it means technology or a way. So Tantra is a way of living, the way of expressing yourself in a nice, loving, peaceful way. For example, if you're talking about the Tantra breath, you'll be sitting in a leg cross position or semi-cross leg position. And if the weather permits, you might sit in front of the ocean, lake, sea. Maybe it's a green field, or maybe it's on your backyard, if that allows. Or maybe you live in a condo and you just gazing at the sky. Or maybe you live in an apartment and you can put something on the screen of your TV, something of a nature, and you can gaze while you're taking a mindful breath. Tantra is when you taking that again back to the coffee or your beverages, when you're drinking that and it gives you pleasure and you're enjoying that pleasure in that moment. Tantra is when you're sitting with your partner on a couch, on a bed, and you're holding each other and you don't think about taking advantage of that person, but you're enjoying the moment, you're enjoying the warmth of your partner's skin, of his or her hands, of his or her tender skin, the facial skin, right? Maybe her hair smells like a fresh shampoo. Maybe his beard smells like coffee. Maybe you feel his hands on your, playing with your hair, massaging your head. Or maybe you're kissing your partner and it's the most beautiful, ecstatic experience, right? Or maybe you just laying down and holding each other, embracing each other in a nice, warm hug. And again, you don't want to take advantage of each other. You just enjoying being together, enjoying feeling each other's hearts, enjoying each other smell, enjoying each other breath, that nothing really turns you off, everything turns you on. And you don't really need to participate in any other activities other than just to be with your partner. So this is Tantra. Now, one more thing I want to highlight today is why would we practice that? Well, number one is because it brings joy into our life. And this is, I think, one of the biggest reasons that we're here on Earth, in this physical body, in the 3D matrix, basically, where we think we are real humans, we're real flesh and bones, and etc. But this experience helps our spirit, our soul to grow, to evolve. To some of us, not all of us, to some of us, right, who are aiming to grow. A lot of us, unfortunately, just spend our days watching TV, gossip, watching news, having mindless sex with different people, or masturbating. And I'm like, again, there is no judgment. I'm just sharing my thoughts. This is just a free talk. It's a tantric talk where I don't point fingers at anybody, where I'm just sharing my thoughts. So in Tantra, we do believe that there is a spirit, there is a soul, there is a physical body. We call it your avatar, or basically like your pyjama, or like your meat suit, let's put that way. And we do believe that when we come here, we need to grow, right? Just like when the baby comes to this world from the mother womb, the baby needs to grow. If the baby doesn't grow, it's going to die, right? Imagine if the baby doesn't grow, then there is some kind of probably abnormalities going on, right? So the baby grows, the physical body of that baby grows, the baby becomes a child, the child becomes teen, the teen becomes young adult, and so on and so forth. Same with our soul, same with our spirit. It has to grow. It has to have different experiences, bad, good, sad and happy, everything. But we have to take everything in with a grain of salt and in a tantric approach. Tantric approach is a yogi approach, right? Because Tantra evolved from yoga, from Kundalini yoga, where we're working with our energies, with our chakras, with our mind, with our spirit, basically, right? So another thing is, the other day I was talking to somebody about this, and I said, the problem is when we get attached to something. Let's say you, in this life physical realm, you get attached to a sweets, and you eat that and you eat that, and it might destroy your health, or it might just, add extra kilos or pounds into your body, and you don't really care. Or maybe you like to have a few drinks every other day, maybe every day. I know some people that they don't say they're abusing alcohol, but they need to have alcohol every day in their life. So I find in my language it's called alcoholism, but some people don't call it that way. Or some people that are addicted to smoke, maybe some type of drugs, doesn't matter, recreational drugs, whatever. But any addiction, anything that takes your willpower away, that could be food, could be masturbation, could be sex, could be anything of a material world, right? Maybe it's a shopping. That's also an addiction, another addiction of going and spending mindlessly your money that you've been earning, right? So what happened when you live in this physical suit, when you live in this body, is your soul will start to look for the same kind of attraction, physical indulgence. And the problem is when we don't grow our spirit while we're here in this body, in the physical body, our soul is not developed. It's basically like a little baby that doesn't have a good mind or a grown-up mind, right? Because babies usually always need our navigations, right? Small children, they need our help. But when we're coming out of this body, when we live in this body, basically crossing over or dying, I don't like that word because a lot of people is like, oh my God, no, I don't want to talk about that. But eventually that will happen to everyone, to every living being on this planet. Eventually everyone is crossing over and then crossing back and forth and back and forth. That's what we call reincarnation. But what's dangerous behind any type of addiction is once we get attached to anything, then in afterlife we trying to repeat that experience, because that soul, that spirit is has no physical body, but those habits of your persona, of your who you been while you were in the physical realm, right? It basically becomes you, but without physical body. Trying to explain it easier, but it's not as easy. So what happened is you looking for another physical body to attach to with the same type of habits. So let's say if it's somebody that were heavily in alcohol and drinking, so that person will start to look for somebody who abused alcohol. Let's say you were you couldn't control your sexual desires while you were alive in the physical realm. Now you're going to be looking for somebody who has that sexual addiction. So going back, why we have to practice Tantra. Tantra is to learn to live in non-attachment, right? That's why in Tantra practice we do certain breathing exercise where either we stimulate our genitals with our partner, or we awakening our kundalini and we feel like sexual aroused and whatever. We staying cool and we staying basically we controlling our desires with our mind and our spirit and with our willpower. And some people say, oh my God, like why do we live then? Like, I just want to enjoy my life. I just want to do whatever the heck I want. Well, that's the problem, right? Because if we constantly feeding our desires, whatever desires, eating too much sweet, drinking too much alcohol, having too much sex, or masturbating, 20 times a day, or whatever, like I've heard different stories, it's an addiction. And that addiction not only destroying your mind during your physical life, but it's also downgrading your soul, downgrading your spirits. So sooner or later I'll be running another workshop, tantric workshop, where I will be highlighting this type of subject, which is very, very extremely important. Overall, yoga teaches us controlling our breath, controlling our mind, controlling our desires. That's why we sit and meditate, and sometimes we sit in a cross-like position or like cross position to focus, to learn how to focus your mind, how to keep your mind sharp, how to keep your mind unattached. Even if you get attached to the loved ones, it's also could be problematic when we're crossing over. Now, why I decided to touch this subject, which is like not a lot of people would like to hear or even discuss that, is because how most of the people afraid of dark because there is unknown. A lot of people afraid and don't talk about subject as life and death. Well, death basically, right? It's basically like a taboo in our society. In most of our societies, unless you go to like South Asia or India or Nepal or Tibet, over there people practice and train their mind and body what to do when we cross over. And remember, life and death goes hand by hand together, and you never know how many days you have left in this world, in this present body, right? Obviously, we as a spirits, as a souls, we are endless, and the spirit will never die, right? Just like energy cannot disappear, it can only evolve into something else. Again, in Tantra we learn not to be attached to your physical body, not to be attached to the sexual feelings, not to be attached to stuff like food, stuff like material things, stuff like money, stuff like different kind of habits. And I find since I started practicing Tantra, which I do it for quite some time, I find that it helps me in everyday life to dealing with different type of situations. When you lose somebody, or when your day doesn't go well, or when somebody screamed at you and cursed you or called you a name, or when you have some financial struggles, you know and you understand all this is basically in sort of an illusion. It's a test for your soul, test for your mind. And if you're strong and if you acknowledge and understand, that too shall pass. And initially, eventually, we all gonna rise and see. You can call it our creator or our creators, and you will find initially and eventually your higher self. So why don't we try it today by practicing Tantra, by practicing mindfulness, by practicing stillness of your mind, by practicing or by creating that fulfillment in your heart, by creating that fulfillment in your mind, by basically not stop the attachment, but stop chasing constant dreams that being created artificially in the form of movies, in the form of commercials, in the form of some other social media, make us believe that we need this car, we need this house, we need this perfect man or woman, we have to have this perfect body, we have to indulge. Life is much more simpler and much more beautiful than just gain material things and switch partners and treat your body as some kind of waste material, right? Appreciate your temple, appreciate your physical temple, appreciate this life you have, because again, you never know when is your time to depart. Appreciate experiences you have. Breathe deeply in the morning, breathe deeply in the evening, say a prayer, or be grateful for the day that just left and another day just coming. Be glad, be grateful for the people around you, people that's serving you. Maybe it's your wife, your husband, your children that make you laugh, your house that keeps you warm, your car that drives you from point A to point B. Be grateful for all that. Be grateful for your physical body that is functioning well, hopefully, right? For another sometime. Be grateful for your heart, that you can hear your heart, tune with your heart in the mindful meditation where you say a prayer and thank you to your heart, to this physical avatar, to the creator that keep giving us this experience regardless of how bad we're treating this physical body. And come and practice Tantra. Again, thank you for listening. That was a short podcast, less than half an hour, by the way. And that was a Morning Star. Thanks for listening. And we'll meet again in the next podcast. Bye for now.